Our next session for the series of FastAPI. Last session we saw that how we can set up the FastAPI and how we can perform the CRUD operations on the listing. But today let's make it more interesting and let's add the database into this session. We will see how we can connect to the database and how we can perform the same CRUD operations on the database. Straightforward, very easy, and very interesting. So the database basically I'm going to use will be MySQL, and let's start. So this is the project, as you can see, which we have created last time. What I will do, I will open it in Visual Studio Code. All right, so this is a project. As you remember, we have written all those things, and the people who actually did not watch my last video, that's the first video of FastAPI series, and this is the second session we are going to start with. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to perform all those operations like creating user, reading users, updating users, and deleting users, not on this list, but on database. Like I said before, I will use MySQL database for this session particularly. To use MySQL database, what we need to do, first we need to have a connector that will connect our application with the MySQL database. But before that, we also need a MySQL database set up on our machine. I will not go through with that how to set up a MySQL database, but to make it very easy for you guys, if you go here and just write XAMPP, so just download this application. It will do all the services for you. Like it comes up with Apache, MySQL database, PHP, these kind of things that we need for this one. But particularly for our session, we need only MySQL. So I'll close this one and I will have this XAMPP control panel. I have already installed it. So when the XAMPP is open, what I will do, I will only run MySQL. So the MySQL service is basically running in our machine. So how to make sure that this is running? I just wait for this port and see if this is running or not. I can see that this MySQL service is now running on my machine. I can see the port. To actually check if it is running properly or not, I have installed Hurrayyyyy, which is an SQL client for to actually see all the databases. So Hurrayyyyy SQL is also free software that you can download. And I don't have any password. I have the same host name and the port is same. So what I will do, I will open it. I will close this all the asset databases, but you see that I have successfully connected with my MySQL database by using Hurrayyyyy SQL client. Now the same thing what we will do our FastAPI. Before going through, what I will do, I will create a new database. I will name it FastAPI. Already exists, so I will not go to create this one because it's already exists. Let's change the name, right? It's a better basically. Create database, FastAPI. Let's make it 2 for now. I will have that one. So this is my database and I will create a new table. As you know from our last session that we are using users. So I will create users and add 3 column. The first will be ID integer. I will set the length to 11. I will say this will be not allowed null, and the second one will be name, and this data type will be varchar. I will not go in like what are those data types of SQL because this is a different session, and I'll go with the email. This is third entity, and this will again varchar. So I will set up this 255, and this one I will set this was as index, primary index, and default I will say that this will be auto incremented. Then whenever the new record has been added, the ID will be auto incremented like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So once this done, I will save it. You see we have a user table right now available in our database. So these are the same entities which we have in our project of FastAPI. Let's go back to the project. So this is our project. Now, like I said before, we have to connect the same thing with the MySQL database instead of using these runtime memory variable or the list variable all users. So to have this application connected with the database, we need some connectors. We need to install some packages. So I will go with the terminal and I will install MySQL connector. So first I will do pip install MySQL dash connector dash Python. Let's install this one. All right, it has been successfully installed. And the second, I will install another package, which is dot environment, which is pip install python as dot env. All right, so new release is available. This is already installed in our in my machine. Okay, so now these things are done. Now next thing, what you need to do, I will create a new file here called environment.env. And environment, in the environment folder, I will add the credentials of my database. That what will be the host name, what will be the username, what will be the password, and which database actually we are going to deal with. So let's create all those variables. Those will be MySQL host, and I will name it like, sorry, localhost. It can be 127.0.0.1. And next, I will copy this one. Don't like to write a lot. Say user, it's root in our case, and password, which is empty in our case, and then database, which you know that we have the database which is fast API 2. Let's confirm this one. Yeah, fast API 2, which is the name of our databases. So this environment file has been created successfully. Next, I will create another file, database.py, which will contain all the information of our database. So in the database py file, the first thing what I will do, I will import the MySQL connector. So do that, import MySQL connector from the database, and I will do from .env import, that will be load.env file. So these two packages I have basically importing in my application, and I will go one more package, which is OS. The OS is basically allows us to deal with the directory of the current operating system. Like if you want to access the directories, if you want to access and manipulate and read different directories inside the folder and other files, this is very handy package. And these are built in for the Python. So first thing what I will do, I will load dot environment in our application. And after doing that, what I will go to, I will just have those all the variables which we have just stored in our env file. So that will be what I will do. I will just copy from here and I will paste here, but instead here I will go with os dot get env, which is the name that we have to give, which is the same like we have here, MySQL underscore host. You can use double quotes as well, you can use single quotes, but I will go with the double quotes. And I will again copy the same thing here. So MySQL user, MySQL password. Now what I'm doing, I'm basically accessing our environment file variables which we have declared before. All right, here we have all the information related to our database available in our system. Next, let's connect with the database. So for this one, I will create a function connect, And in the connect function, what you need to do, just return MySQL dot connector. And that connector, what will do, it is basically taking the parameters of our not this the parameters of our database credentials. I will say connect, and here I will pass all those ones. So let's make it more better in this way to put it the new line. Host equals MySQL host, and then I will say user equals MySQL user. The pass word, which whatever the password is in our case is, and lastly the database for our MySQL is database. To make it better, you can use that one. Put some spaces. So this is basically the database we have. An error. All right, I know. So let's make it correct. MySQL.connector, and now this is fine. So this is a function actually that will connect our database, our this application to the with the database. Now next thing is basically to actually go to the main API. We have main.py, which we have last time. As you know that we have already instantiating one instance from the FastAPI. Now we need one more instance to actually connect with the database. So for that one, I will do phone equals connect. This is what the function that we have delivered. We have just added into database.py. But to have this, to actually use this one, we have to import this. Import from database import connect. Now we can use this one, and then we can have the cursor, which will allow us to actually perform and execute and committing different queries on the database. So that will be cursor. So we have those available as globally right now in our main.py. But instead of using it here, maybe I will use these two things inside database.py, where actually I will perform all the operations. We will not have any kind of user available in database. As we can see in our SQL client, the data is empty. So let's add some data first. So for this one, like yesterday in my last session, sorry, I have used this create user API. What I will do, I will change this method to work with database. I'll go back into the database, and here add into user table. Define, I will say add user. What it's gonna take, it's gonna take two parameters. One will be name string, and the second will be email string. And then this is what we will add into our database. So these things, I have created the connection between database and created a cursor. So instead of using it here, I will cut it from here and use here. So cursor. Now I will create a query. Insert into users, set name equals sign, and email equals %sign s. This will be the query that we are going to use, and these two parameters we will taking care from here, and then we are passing those as values. The values will be name, email. Now let's execute the query. The first thing what I need to do, I need to give the query to this, and then secondly I have to give the parameters that are being used inside the query. So in our case, those are values. Once this has been done, I need to commit, that will commit our changes to the database, and then I will close. And once our record has been inserted, we have to return back the ID, which will be return cursor dot last row ID. So this is all the function we have done to actually insert one record into our database. So I will go back to main.py. In the main.py, instead of using append, what I will do, I will use our database function, which is add user. To use it, I have to first import it from here and then use it add user. It is taking two parameters. So in our case, we know we are passing the object user dot name and user dot email. And because it is returning an ID, so I can have that user ID equals, and I can return that ID from here, user is to ID. There you go. So now we have changed this function, change this endpoint function to actually work with database. Let's run this one. To run this one, we have to reload our Ubicon server. So I have to go with this command from a history, enter. Now our Ubicon is basically working. So to see if this is working or not, I will open this. As you can see, our massive hello world is appearing. So what I will do, I will open the Swagger this time instead of Postman, and will perform my action from there. So in the Swagger, I will go to this created user endpoint. I will use it, try it out. Now, as you know that we have given ID as auto incrementer, so we don't need to pass the ID. What we will do, we will add name and email, and I will execute. So on executing, so we have missing ID. You see it is giving an error that ID is missing. Means we have to go to our model and remove this ID as we don't need this anymore. Saving it, going back, and I will execute it again. So this time you see response body comes up with user ID 1. So if I go to my database from this client and I just refresh it by closing this one, refresh, so you see that ID Muhammed Aziz and email has been inserted successfully. Let's add one more record, this time my favorite name, Nick James, and execute. User ID has been added. So if I go here and refresh in the client, I can see those both are added. So this way we have successfully created a connection between MySQL database and we have successfully run our insert query. Once we done our insert query, now let's fetch those records from database directly to the our this application. So I will go back to database.py and I will create another function that will basically fetch all users, define all users. It doesn't need any kind of parameter, and again we will need to connect to our database and need a cursor. From here, let's run the query, which is straightforward. Select straight from users. I hope you have an idea that what these queries are about MySQL. And from here, what I need to do, I will execute the query dot execute. Once this is been done, I have to close the connection because we don't need it anymore, and I will return cursor dot fetch all. That's what is basically retrieving all the records in our database to wherever we are calling this function. In couple of lines, we are able to do this select from the database. Now what I will do, I will go back to my py. I will use that one, fetch all, or I can change to a better, sorry, all users, not fetch all users. And here I will call that function all users. I can say that these can conflict with these variables, so I will change it to all underscore db users. They can be better naming convention, but for now I will use that one. And in the get user, we will do all db users. So now what it will do, it will connect with the database and return all the users we have in our database. So I will go back to my Swagger and I will use this get user commands, the endpoint, sorry, to fetch all the users. Now I will execute. Users are coming empty, even though we have available those two records in our database. I think I know the issue, so I will do records equals, because I'm closing the connection before fetching it out, and then I will return the records. So I hope it will work now. Now back to our Swagger, execute, and we can see we have two records here. So in this way, what I have done, I have successfully changed our two endpoints to connect with database MySQL, and we are inserting a user and we are selecting all the users from a database. So this same thing will happen to these two endpoints where we are updating a user and also deleting a user. So yeah, there is only a change of API. There is only a change of SQL query, by the way. So what I will do, I will just add the updating is more or less same like we have here. This query, like instead of insert, we can use update and with a where clause, and deleting is also with the same one. Delete from users, where we have the ID of the user. So I hope you understand that how we can very easily connect our fast API to work with MySQL databases. You just need to import MySQL connector. You just need to have a connection with your database and just define a connect function that can go globally because we can use it anywhere. And then using these functions, we can perform all the query functionalities to our database. The things that you have to remember whenever you open a connection, always close it, and don't forget to just don't keep a connection open for a long time. This is not needed, and it will boost the performance. I hope you enjoyed this session, and the next session I will try to have the same fast API, how it work with MongoDB and how we can set up a MongoDB in our system. Thank you very much. Take care. Tata. Bye bye.